Imagine you are a marginalized female user logged into a brutally toxic, male-dominated first-century server. We're talking about an ancient Middle Eastern ecosystem where the patriarchal code is hardwired into the very fabric of society. Your voice holds zero administrative weight. Your account is geo-blocked from every position of power. And to make matters infinitely worse, your personal operating system is completely compromised by top-tier malware. Historically speaking, you are possessed by 7 demons, basically a walking red flag experiencing a perpetual blue screen of death. Society has officially canceled you. You are pushed to the fringes of the map, treated like a glitchy, corrupted file that no religious expert or elite developer wants to touch. But then, an absolute game changer happens. An unknown C-suite visionary, the ultimate founder, Jesus of Nazareth, steps directly into your server. He doesn't put you on a wait list or ask you to file an IT support ticket. Instead, he runs a miraculous system reboot, uninstalls all 7 malicious bugs, and restores your life's OS to premium status. Now, a logically thinking user would just take this massive W, log off, and live a quiet, drama-free life. But you decide to activate full diamond hands. You go all in. Instead of hiding, you become an angel investor, pouring your own private cash flow into his radical grassroots startup, a disruptive movement engineered to completely dismantle and overwrite the ancient global hierarchy. You are riding the ultimate bullish trend alongside the founder. But in the startup world, extreme growth attracts extreme pushback. When the Roman Empire's conglomerate executes a brutally violent, blood-soaked hostile takeover, publicly crucifying the CEO, the entire movement's HP hits absolute zero. Facing a total market crash, the entire male C-suite, the 12 hand-picked apostles, instantly panic. They clear their browser history, abandon the server, and hide in safe mode, terrified of catching a permanent, lethal IP ban from the Roman guards. But you don't ghost. You hold the line. You stand fiercely at ground zero, right beneath the cross, staring straight into the eyes of the enemy's security forces. How did a canceled female outcast become the sole keeper of the source code for the greatest comeback in human history? And what happens when the patriarchal legacy system attempts to permanently delete her epic contributions from the history books? Grab your popcorn. Count down 3. R. E. Welcome to the declassified files of the Apostle to the Apostles. This is the true, unfiltered legacy of Saint Mary Magdalene. Welcome back to Historical Combat, the series where we unpack the wildest, most heavily audited resumes of the ancient world. If in our previous files we saw heavy-hitting, blue-collar tankers like Peter get tapped for the co-founder title, what exactly happens when a fiercely patriarchal, male-dominated religious ecosystem suddenly gets a female chief financial officer? Let's set the geographical map. We're zooming into Magdala. Think of Yedenstentry Magdala not as a dusty, irrelevant fishing village, but as the Silicon Valley of the Sea of Galilee, a bustling, high-revenue hub of trade and industry. This is exactly where our protagonist spawns. But Mary's initial system diagnostics? Absolute red flag territory. The Gospel of Luke 8-2 pulls her early system report, documenting her as a woman from whom 7 demons had gone out. In tech terms, her personal operating system wasn't just lagging. It was infected with a lethal 7-layer malware that caused a total system brick. She was socially canceled, a walking blue screen of death that no elite Pharisee developer wanted to debug. Enter the ultimate founder, Jesus. He doesn't bypass the corrupted file. He runs a flawless diagnostic sweep, uninstalls the demonic malware entirely, and upgrades her OS to a premium, enterprise-grade state. But here is where Mary flexes an insane perspective reversal. Instead of just taking her repaired tech and logging off to live quietly under the radar, she pivots. She goes all in and becomes the ultimate angel investor. Luke 8-3 confirms her aggressive portfolio strategy, noting that Mary and other women were helping to support them out of their own means. Let that sink in. While the fisherman bros were out there grinding for daily KPIs and arguing about who gets the corner office in the kingdom of heaven, Mary was the literal CFO. She was managing the startup's cash flow, injecting her own capital to ensure this grassroots campaign could scale globally without running out of runway. You think being a major shareholder in a divine startup is a chill, passive income gig? Think again. Buckle up and keep your eyes glued to the screen, because the ultimate stress test is about to drop, and the market is about to crash hard. We hit Good Friday. But let's call it what it was. The original Black Friday. The Roman Empire, the ultimate monopoly of the era, executes a blood-soaked hostile takeover. They don't just find the startup, they publicly execute the CEO on a cross. The market cap plummets to absolute zero. What does the board of directors do? The male C-suite, the hand-picked 12 apostles, experience a massive churn rate. Peter hits deny 3 times and blocks the admin. The rest of the guys force quit the app, clear their browser history, and hide in a bunker, absolutely terrified of catching a Roman IP ban. But Mary? She activates the most legendary diamond hands in recorded history. She refuses to sell out. She refuses to abandon the server. The Gospel of John 19:25 captures this epic, cinematic standoff. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene, surrounded by fully armed Roman security forces, risking a permanent, lethal ban from the server of life. She holds the front line. She stood her ground when the great men of history ran for cover. This absolute display of God-tier loyalty proved her investment wasn't just a fleeting trend. She held the line when the stock hit zero and the whole system crashed. But the story doesn't end in the graveyard. The system wasn't dead, it was just rebooting. And the most physics-defying glitch in the Matrix is about to load in the next chapter. Welcome back to Historical Combat, where we continue to decrypt the most legendary files of the ancient world. If last chapter we saw Mary Magdalene diamond-handing the crucifixion while the entire male C-suite abandoned the server, what exactly happens when the deceased CEO's account suddenly shows an online status? It is Sunday morning. The male apostles are still on airplane mode, hiding behind locked doors, absolutely terrified of Roman IP trackers. But Mary? She braves the offline world and goes straight to the drop zone, the tomb, to perform the final system diagnostics and burial rites. But when she arrives, the system returns a fatal, physics-defying alert. Error 404, body not found. The heavy stone firewall sealing the tomb has been completely hacked open. As recorded in John 20:1-2, she discovers the founder's body has been removed from the mainframe. You think the story ends with an empty tomb and a total server crash? Not a chance. Fasten your seatbelts and keep your eyes on the screen. Because the ultimate perspective reversal, the greatest glitch in the Matrix, is loading right now. Mary is weeping outside the tomb when she spots a man she assumes is just a local NPC. Maybe the gardener. But then, the ultimate voice authentication drops. Mary John, 2016. Just one word. And her entire database syncs. She immediately spins around and responds. Rabboni, teacher, Jesus didn't grant the first access privileges of the resurrection server to Peter or John. He handed the most critical press release in human history to a marginalized woman. In John 20:17, the CEO gives her a direct KPI. Go to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father. Boom. With that single command, Mary is officially promoted to the apostle to the apostles. She sprints back to the male board members to deliver the intel. The CEO is alive. The project is still running. Do they celebrate? Do they thank her for holding the line? Nope. They hit her with the most toxic, impenetrable firewall of the first century, systemic gender bias. Luke 24-11 reviews their exact response to her report, but they did not believe the women, because their words seemed to them like nonsense. In modern tech translation, fake news. Sis is hallucinating. Her data is corrupted. We need a verified male source before we update the patch notes. Mary nailed her KPI. She kept the connection alive and delivered the ultimate message when everyone else had pulled the plug. But climbing to the top of the startup means facing the coldest winds. As the church prepared to scale globally, having a female visionary holding the ultimate administrative receipts became a massive political liability for the ancient boys' club. The physical exile is looming, and an elite smear campaign is being drafted in the shadows. The darkest patch notes in history are about to be written. All the receipts will be exposed in the next chapter. Welcome back to Historical Combat, where we track the most brutal server wipes and legendary comebacks of the ancient world. If last chapter we saw Mary Magdalene shatter the ultimate firewall and deliver the resurrection patch notes, only to get blocked by the male C-suite's gender bias, what exactly happens next? We all know Peter and Paul secured the shiny global marketing campaigns and the heavy biblical screen time. But what happens to the female co-founder who knew too much when the startup actually scales into a global enterprise? As the grassroots movement of the Way scales up into the Greco-Roman ecosystem, the patriarchal operating system begins to push back aggressively. Having a female executive holding the highest security clearance, the direct witness to the resurrection, is a massive glitch in their societal code. So, the legacy system quietly soft cancels her from the main Acts of the Apostles storyline. She practically drops off the official server logs. But historical data dumps and ancient legends give us two wild migration routes for her final act. Route A suggests she transferred to the Ephesus server alongside the Apostle John. John 19:27 tells us that at the cross, Jesus told John, "Here is your mother," initiating a new inner circle family unit that likely included Mary Magdalene. According to this theory, they moved to a heavily encrypted off-the-grid safe house in modern-day Turkey, going into full stealth mode to dodge the Roman banhammer until her natural logout. But that's the chill, drama-free version. Now, let's look at Route B, the epic lore from the Golden Legend. This is where the ancient elites try to force a permanent game over. The local admin board absolutely furious at her influence and unable to officially execute her without causing a riot. Allegedly through Mary, along with Lazarus and a few other core devs, into a literal rudderless boat, no GPS, no sails, zero rations. They shoved them into the Mediterranean Sea, expecting the ocean to execute a flawless, untraceable server wipe. But as Psalm 46:1-2 states, God is our refuge and strength. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, Mary activated her max-level faith stats. Instead of sinking, this rudderless dinghy caught a divine algorithm and drifted all the way to the shores of southern France, landing in Marseille. She practically speed ran a hardcore survival game. She didn't just survive, she became a solo evangelist, converting the local pagan server before eventually retiring to a high-altitude cave in Saint-Baume to spend her final 30 years in pure, uninterrupted offline contemplation. Hebrews 11:38 perfectly describes this God-tier level of endurance. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in deserts and mountains, and in caves and holes in the ground. You think surviving a political purge and a death-trap boat ride is the ultimate flex? Not even close. Don't touch that dial. Fasten your seatbelts and keep your eyes on the screen. Because surviving the first century wilderness is absolute child's play compared to what comes next. She beat the Roman hit squads, and she conquered the Mediterranean Sea. But the true final boss wasn't an emperor or an ocean. It was the future historians who were quietly preparing to hack her legacy and rewrite her entire source code. The most devastating, character-assassinating patch notes in history are about to be deployed. The ultimate smear campaign starts right now. Welcome back to Historical Combat, where we track the most brutal server wipes and legendary comebacks of the ancient world. If last chapter we saw Mary Magdalene survive physical exile and dodge the Roman banhammer, what happens when the very institution she helped build decides to rewrite her source code? How does the Apostle to the Apostles get downgraded to a background NPC with a scandalous backstory? Enter the year 591 AD. The CEO of the global church at the time, Pope Gregory I, pushes a massive server update. But he commits the ultimate admin error. In an attempt to streamline the massive, complex database of the Bible, he accidentally merges Mary Magdalene's profile with two completely distinct female users, Mary of Bethany and the anonymous weeping sinner from Luke 7:37, who is explicitly logged as a woman in that town who lived a sinful life. You think a simple coding typo in a historical patch note is harmless. Think again. Fasten your seatbelts, because this single error is about to trigger a 1400-year smear campaign instantly. Her elite CFO and apostle tags are permanently overwritten. The woman who heavily funded the greatest startup, Luke 8:3, and diamond-handed the crucifixion when the bros fled, is suddenly rebranded as a repentant streetwalker. Her entire resume is aggressively nerfed. She becomes the historical poster child for fallen women, a complete rewrite of her actual CV to keep the patriarchal server running without the glitch of a powerful female co-founder. As Proverbs 18:17 warns, in a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right, until someone comes forward and cross-examines. And for centuries, absolutely no one dared to cross-examine the Pope's patch notes. But bad code can't hide forever, and the original server logs never lie. It took a massive system audit in 1969 for the Vatican to finally push a critical bug fix, officially decoupling her profile from the anonymous sinner. The ultimate premium upgrade, however, arrived in 2016. Pope Francis deployed a massive patch, officially elevating her memorial to a feast day, putting her on the exact same administrative tier as the male apostles. The system finally recognized the raw data originally established in Mark 16:9. When Jesus rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene. First access. Zero debate. Mary Magdalene finally reclaimed her rightful place in the mainframe, proving that her legacy was bulletproof. But while her profile was restored, the ancient fates of the other co-founders, the ones who originally ran away, were far more brutal. The Roman Empire wasn't done executing its hostile takeover, and the rest of the C-suite is about to face the ultimate physical penalty for their server rebellion. The age of martyrdom is about to begin. From a glitchy, malware-infected OS in Magdala to the ultimate CFO of the greatest grassroots startup in human history, Mary Magdalene was never just a background NPC. She was the foundational source code. When the Roman conglomerate executed their blood-soaked hostile takeover, and the male board members panicked and ghosted the server, she activated Diamond Hands and held the absolute frontline. The ancient legacy system tried to cancel her. They pushed a 1.400-year smear campaign to permanently overwrite her files, rebranding her profile to fit their patriarchal narrative. But you can't delete the truth when the original server logs never lie. Her legacy didn't just survive the Roman banhammer and the historical system wipes. It went viral for eternity. You think this is the only classified file the ancient elites tried to sweep under the rug? Think again. Grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button, and don't touch that dial, because the brutal age of martyrdom is officially loading, and the next server update is definitely not for the faint of heart. See you in the next historical combat.